Yes, I'm excited about it. We have here with us the Calvin Rodgers here to share 10,000 years of information with us about songwriting, everything. He is Mr. Drummer Extraordinaire. He is Mr. Everything Extraordinaire, writer, producer, composer, everything. So, first of all, let's say hello to you. Hey, Calvin.
Hi, Autumn. Long time no see, no speak, no hear.
See, there you go. I'm his friend and I'm excited about it. Thank you so very much. So, um, and I want to say, well, the introduction I gave you definitely does not do it justice because you've done everything in this industry with everybody. Can you go ahead and tell us some of the people that you work with?
uh,
I know, I know.
yeah, I've had the esteemed pleasure of working with almost like what would be considered maybe like gospel royalty.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked closely with Fred. I worked closely with Fred Hammond for about 12 or 13 years. I was
Which
with
is
him.
how we met.
Yeah, which is how we met. I've worked closely, and in doing that, I worked closely with him for those Festival of Praise tours. So that allowed me to have to cultivate some relationships with a lot of those other artists for Festival of Praise. I've recorded and worked and toured with Hezekiah Walker, Donald Lawrence, Donnie McClurkin, Israel Houghton, Zacardi Cortez, BB and CC Winans, Martha Menezes, Mary Mary.
Ooh.
Yeah, there are a lot more, but
And you've
yeah.
been on the R&B side too.
On the R&B side, I worked as the music director for Isley Brothers for about 13 years, and then my first tour was out of like almost right out of high school was with I'm sorry, I don't know how I forgot to say Pastor John P. Key because that was like and Ricky Dillard. Those were like my very first two gigs.
Right, right.
So with Ramsey Lewis, I toured with Ramsey Lewis, and then to R. Kelly and Dave Hollister, and but yeah, and I've also done like Aretha Franklin. I did Aretha Franklin for about 2 years, Aretha Franklin and Shaka Khan. So I was doing at one point, I was like the drummer for. At one point, I was juggling four gigs all at once. I was playing for Aretha, Shaka, Miss Franklin, Shaka Khan, Fred Hammond, and Ronald, and the Isley Brothers all at once. So in like 2013 and 2012 through 2014, I was juggling all four of those gigs. Yeah, got
Wow.
it.
You crazy. I mean, crazy, good crazy. You work with everybody. So that's why when you say the name Calvin Rodgers, everybody just goes, ooh, ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Because you have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of experience. So I wanted to put all of that out there at first because this knowledge that you're about to give us, this knowledge you're about to drop on us, we ready for it because you produced for a lot of these people. You've written for people as well. Like, what is your process for songwriting?
Man, over the years, it's changed because I have just wanted to become more involved with lyrics, with the process of, actual lyrics. For the first few years that I worked with Fred Hammond, who really kind of brought me into the songwriting game. Um, it was always from a music standpoint. So I was just like kind of writing music and then I would send it to Fred and he would be like, "Oh yeah, I can use parts of this." And he would take bits of my song and then put lyrics to them and things like that. So during that time, mostly the concept a lot of times started with whatever the rhythm was, whatever rhythm idea I had in my head. Um, so it would start a lot of times it started with drums. And then as time progressed, I started dealing with melodies. Um,
What are some of your songs that we would know?
man, one of the songs that I worked like I kind of almost drummed up from concept musically was Lost in You Again. Uh,
Ooh.
so that was like I had this haunting melody like um and I just kind of like I just had this melody over and over in my head and I went to the studio one day with Philip um and and so I did that with him. I did that with him. They That Wait is a song that I wrote on with Fred. We were trying to get I really was trying to come up with an idea for something that felt like Hey Ya, like Andre 3000.
Oh yes, with that same groove. Okay.
So we were talking about, something like that. And that's where, I came up with that's one of the ones where like the groove was the first thing that came to me first. Um, so that one was like, and I was just trying to, and then Fred, of course, came with the lyrics, and then we started playing with the melodies and things like that. Um, um, and
That's
there,
so crazy because we when you think about like when people say writing something, like I feel like I can't come up with any kind of melodies. I can bring some words together, but putting a melody, like who does that? But then you have some people who come up with a melody, but they can't come up with words. So that's two different types of writers.
I mean, yeah, there's some writers who there are some songwriters who deal with music only. There are some songwriters who deal with melodies. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of songwriters, that's the first thing they hear. The first thing they do is like they deal with melodies. I think Eric Dawkins is one of those guys that like deals with melodies because he's such an incredible singer. You know what I'm saying? So melody is for him is like principle almost with the lyric. Like, and Stevie is like that too. You study songwriters like Stevie Wonder, you look at how a song like Isn't She Lovely? It's really all about the melody, you know what I'm saying? And I went to go see Stevie Wonder. He talked about how that melody, it took him the longest time to find the perfect lyric to come over that melody. But again, he was just inundated with this melody. It was just like and he talks about how how it all came together after the birth of his daughter and everything. So, but yeah, there are a lot of people that deal with that, and then you have the people like Fred Hammond who have been exponentially blessed to have all three of those things in like one form. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
any time can be like writing a song and print the lyric is the principal. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like the lyric is king here. This lyric is so deep that it really doesn't matter what's being said. Or I mean, it doesn't matter what's being played. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I've been with him, and then the melody is what's principal. You know, and then I've been with him at times where they both work hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Really gifted in the song in the area of songwriting. I mean, he's one of the best. Donald Lawrence is another one who is, man, just like it's. But Donald is a lyricist, definitely. He is definitely one of those guys who it's about the pen with him. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely about the lyric, and he deals with what's being said first. He definitely is one of those.
Got you.
Yeah,
So it's about figuring out what your vein is. So which one is your vein? Because
I think for myself, where I am, I would like to be, one of those ones that deal because it comes to me at different times. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
Sometimes sometimes I'll be writing a song and what's being played is like, oh man, this is so sweet. It's so like it's hypnotizing. So if I just find the right lyric to go over it, then it'll be cool. People will really be pulled in by what's being played because I
Okay.
do that music is definitely a strong part of the song. Sometimes what's being said doesn't really like it doesn't have to be like super deep. It don't have to be like
Mm-hmm.
thought provoking. But if a melody or chord progression can grab you, then you know it'll be that. So there's different ways. I would love to be one of those songwriters who at different times can pull from each, like my heroes, like Fred, like Donald Lawrence, um like Stevie. You know what I'm saying? And to me, Stevie is one of the ultimate songwriters because
Oh,
he takes he takes melodies and progressions that under normal circumstances would not be appealing to the common ear. Or I mean,
okay.
like, okay, think about Stevie Wonder's like That Girl.
Yeah.
that's those the chord changes in that song alone are very they way out there. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to fit a melody and a cool lyric over those changes and make it to like crossover radio to where everyone loves it and can figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
But and then with him being a musician who playing an instrument helps because you can just kind of figure it out and go back and forth. And there's a certain knowledge that you come into the table with when you can already play an instrument.
yeah, and that helps. But still, being the best musicians haven't had that kind of luck and that kind
Yeah.
of success. You know? That's not an easy feat. It's not. It's just
Yeah.
not. So
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Well, we're excited about it. There's a story that I love that I actually tell all the time because I remember you telling this story. And it's one of the songs that I got the privilege on having a split on, little small little tidbit of a split. I don't know if you know it, but on Lord Have Your Way
oh man.
of Fred's. And the funny thing is, I did not at the time. I had no idea really how song splits work, and having people around when you're writing music and that kind of thing. So I was helping with backgrounds on it and had something to say about one of the verses. And because we had the great Pam Kenyon in there who
Yeah.
understood, how to do the paperwork.
And thank God for Pam Kenyon, and thank God for the vehicles like Fred Hammond that get us to these places, but also for a person like Pam Kenyon who is in a room and will say to you, "Hey, you contributed." You know what I'm saying? That's worth something. You know what I'm saying? You have to get something from that. And you know, man, big shout out to Fred Hammond because I what I did with Fred, I did with people for years, and nobody gave me anything.
Oh
So
wow.
I
Oh
remember the
wow.
first time I had just kind of gotten used to it, and in gospel music, and I remember the first time when we were finishing, Fred was doing uh I what's the name of the album that we ended up doing.
It's not our trust.
No. It's before you were there, but we ended up
Oh,
did
pages.
no
Or he
we
got a
did
lot of them.
well, we did the video for the album at the Potter's house. I can't think of the name of the album.
Okay, well, that album.
It had "This Is the Day" on it. This is the
Oh
day
yeah, that one. Okay.
album. So Fred just sent me to Fred literally, like, I was in Dallas. We were rehearsing for the DVD, and Fred goes, "I'm gonna put This Is the Day on the album." Because we had just been playing it on the show. And so he's like, "I'm gonna put This Is the Day on the album." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So he's like, we're gonna go to the studio. So I'm like, "All right, cool." We get to the studio. Fred literally drops me off at Bobby Sparks' studio. Me and Snoop dropped me and Snoop off at the front door at the studio and was like, "All right, I'll be back. Y'all go in there and get it done." And so I'm in there trying to produce Bobby Sparks, Todd Parsno, the guitar player, and me and Snoop. So me and Snoop walk in there, and Bobby Sparks, the Bobby Sparks. If you want to put "the" in front of somebody's name, you put "the" in front of Bobby Sparks.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
It's sitting there like, "All right, come on, show me what you got." And I'm like, "What?" And Bobby he was really nice to me that day. He was patient with me working through all my ideas. I was super nervous because I had never had to go in and produce a track with somebody out, you don't drop somebody off at the front door of Bobby Sparks studio and was like, "Yeah, I'll be back."
Yeah, I'll be back. Handle it.
So I was super nervous. I was like, my hands were shaking, and I wanted to give the ideas to Bobby, but I'm like, man, I don't want him to be like, "What is this boy whack? What is he doing? What is he thinking?" But he was super patient with me. He made sense of all of the ideas that I had. Um, but we did that song. I did the track, and so the reason I brought that story up was because I remember when we got done, Fred, when I got the album, the CD came out, and Fred listed me as the co-producer on the song. And I was just like, "Dude," and I'm like, "Yo, you put me down as co-producer." He was like, "Well, you did produce the track. I mean, like, you did produce the music. Like, you went in there and did." I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've done that a lot. Nobody's ever put me down for it.
Wait,
So
which song was that?
this is the day.
Oh, yeah.
So um and then so that was how I did. That was really like the beginning of me and Fred's relationship, where he started like allowing me to be like involved in his recording process. The very next album was the Love Unstoppable record.
Hmm.
Love Unstoppable. That's Love Unstoppable with Awesome God on it and stuff like that. They That Wait. And that was like, and that's when I started. I was in Chicago. That's when I sent him Lost in You Again. I just sent him the music for, and then he literally, Fred tells a story like he was like, man, he was like, I listened to the track one time. The second time I played it, I wrote the entire verse. Like he was, and I think he sent me a video in his car, or he sent me a voice note in his car or something, because I wasn't even there in Dallas yet. So I went to Philip's studio, banged out a track, and then I sent it to Fred, and he sent me a message back and was like, "Yeah, I listened to the song one time. The second time I listened to it, I sang the entire verse from the top of my head. Like that's how, and I've seen Fred do that so many times,
Yeah,
but
he's a beast with that.
But yeah, that's so, it, that's been my journey in songwriting. So, like I said, right now, um, I'm working on being more of a lyricist because it's a challenge to me, not because uh, I just that's songwriting is something that um, I'm intrigued by. You know, getting people to memorize a melody and a song and a lyric. It's a gift, man. It's something people got to work at, and
Yeah,
I believe that I believe I have the gift for it, but it's definitely something that has to be cultivated. So
you actually do. One of the questions that I know that everybody is itching to ask right now, but they can't have access to you right now, um, is that okay? You have all these connections, so how did you get to where anybody, Fred or anybody, would even look at you for that? You got in because you were the musician. Okay, well
yeah,
then how did you get in as a musician? Because one thing I tell people all the time is that when you're just in the atmosphere, sometimes people complain when they come around and you're not really doing anything. Well, he didn't ask me to do this, he didn't ask me to do that. And I would say, well, just be around the atmosphere. You never know what will happen. How important is it to do that?
it's very important. And worked. Um, I was very intentional
Mhm.
people understanding that I was looking to be more than just a drummer on somebody's recording or a side man. So with those sessions where I was playing like all of those live sessions, I made sure that I went and spoke to the executives. I made sure that they knew my name. I knew their name because I was seeing them so many times. And it was just like, hey, good to see you again, you know, and keep going. No, 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 no. What's your name? What do you do? How can how like, and sometimes those guys are like, they're also, a lot of times you see some of those executives like, they starting at, I remember seeing um God, I don't want to start calling names, but like I remember seeing Stan Jones at some of these sessions where he was at A&R, you know what I'm saying? And he's just trying to get things happening, get his foot in the door. So, it's like, well, what can I do where maybe you can help me, I can help you, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, if a guy can go, hey man, I don't know if you know the guy, but the guy we see that does all the recordings, that's playing drums, he also produces. And he's looking to get in the game. Maybe we can introduce him as a producer, you know what I'm saying, and for the label. And then now all of a sudden, this guy who suggests that is like, he didn't, nobody bothered to think about that, you know what I'm saying? Nobody bothered to say that. Everybody just kind of kept speaking to that guy. Now the bigger guy, the guy up above him is going, this guy has got an ear and an eye for talent. Let me keep him close to me. So, but yeah, well, I was doing a lot of those sessions after a while, doing all those Marvin sessions. I'm like, I see the same guys from Verity every other year. So the
Yeah.
recording a Marvin Sapp record every other year. And why don't I know any of these guys? Why don't I know their names? Why aren't we, you know what I'm saying? So I was very intentional about trying to make sure that they knew I was, for one, interested in getting outside of just being, a side man. So that's very important. You gotta be clear on that, because if you're not, then you know what I'm saying, people won't necessarily know. How will they?
So how do you do that? I mean, if you're not coming in as a musician, how do you get around these people? I mean, one thing that I tell them all the time, when you meet an artist, everybody's trying to go for the artist. Rather than going for the artist, look at the people around them. You're
Yeah.
looking at the managers, you're looking at the assistants, you're looking at, band members and getting to know them.
Like if you're not a musician, if you're not there on the musician side, you got to figure out ways to get your music out. But the first thing you got to do is you got to be ready. So, having demos prepared, and then I tell musicians this: you just got to network whatever or whoever you're trying to be around, whatever the crowd is, you got to find those people that are close to you that are doing that, and figure out a way where, hey, can we work together? Can we collaborate? I know people will say, I'm not going to be quick to give you my connect. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're going to be like, I'm not telling you who the A&R for, Sony Music is, because, you'll get placements and then I won't get any placements. But if you can say, hey, man, hey, I noticed you had a song on such and such record and this record and that record. Maybe we can collaborate. I'm a beat maker. I'm a writer too. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we can collaborate. Something like that. Find out where those people are, or find out who the people are that make the decisions. Or find out how the song selection goes. What that process is. A lot of times, you'd be surprised now with social media. People are talking about everything.
Yeah.
Get online. Marvin Sapp has got it in his stories. Hey, I'm looking for songs.
Yeah.
Email this email address with your music. You know, that happens. That literally happens. So, but you got to be prepared. And then of course, if you're a new guy coming into the game, if you're a new songwriter coming into the game, you don't really have any history, you don't have a resume, or you don't have a track record of writing songs, then you can't afford to have, you know, your auntie who's a good singer singing with your upright out of tune piano and call it a demo. You can't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could do that if you were like V. Michael McKay. You could do that if you were, Jason Nelson or Jonathan Nelson. You could do that because then people are gonna know, like, oh man, if he's sending me a demo like this, that's being he just, he put this down.
He just working on it. He just, yeah, yeah.
You know, and sometimes even if the song is really good, you can get away with that. But trying to get your foot in the door, coming in the door, that's not how you want to do it. So,
So networking is the big thing.
networking is definitely the big thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's no matter what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a drummer, you're trying to be a bass player, songwriter, background singer, lighting director, whatever you're trying to be, networking is key.
So that also means, just attending things, conferences, workshops, the whole nine. That's where you meet a lot of these people and know who's in the room.
Know who's in the room. Find out, like I said, after a while, I'm realizing we're doing a Marvin Sapp record every other year, and these conversations are going farther than good to see you again. No, man, you recognize my face. You see me on. I've done these last 3 records, and it's like, oh, I saw him and he did the Karen Clark record too, or I saw him and he did the Vanessa Bell record too, or so like I know these. You recognize me, man. Let's network. Let's politic. How can we help each other? How can I, you know what I'm saying? Man, because I'm not trying to be here, I enjoy playing drums, but I don't want to have to be bound to playing drums when I'm 60 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's called residual income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, well, and we thank you for sharing all of this information with us, because you really didn't have to. But so many people are trying to get to where you are. When you look back, what do you think? Well, you know what? I would probably change this. I would change that.
I I have just recently had this conversation about if I would change anything in my career. I was just having it with some of my friends, and I was explaining to them. I was actually talking about my grandson, and so I was saying, how I missed so much of my kids growing up being on the road, and so I was saying, I wonder if I could, I would have changed things. Um, you know, I would have been a lot smarter a lot sooner. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Talk to my younger self, I just would have said, man, all of the things that are necessarily maybe looked at as considered as perks, or the things that come along with the gig, those things are going to be there, you know. Be smart with your money and be smart with your time.
Mm,
So, because if I'm a good steward over if I'm a good steward over my money, it allows me to be a good steward over my time. Because I don't necessarily have to say I gotta miss, a graduation or a birthday party because I need to go make $500. If I've been smart with my money, then I don't necessarily have to sell myself out for $500. I can go and be I can and not, and sometimes you have to make those decisions. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Sometimes now, sometimes it ain't $500. Sometimes it's like $10,000. Now
Can-
that's a decision that, has to be made.
I could buy some more memories.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, other than that, I don't know if I would change anything. I would just say, you know, be really a lot smarter with my money. I made a lot of money when I was younger, and I didn't have no bills, I didn't have no kids, and I don't even know what I spent it on,
Oh,
trying to buy clothes and things like that,
trying to be fly.
trying to be fly, you know what I'm saying? So but that's probably it. I think
Mm,
I've always prided myself on trying to be someone um who spent a lot of time in conversation with God about the moves I'm supposed to make.
mhm.
I didn't necessarily do things. I tried not to do things where I felt like I was making a decision because of money. Um, I try not to do things that where my motivation was money. My motivation was always music. That was always the motivation. So, um, you know, but yeah, be better. Be a better steward of your time and
Gotcha.
save your money is what I would have. I definitely
Okay.
told my youngest.
Okay. Well, listen, I love it. And we definitely don't want to hold you up. Hopefully, this is also the beginning of you coming to Dallas to do your actual workshop. There are
Yeah.
a lot of musicians and producers, drummers who are just like, where's Calvin Rodgers? So we're definitely gonna listen. I'm saying that, I'm claiming that now. We're gonna be putting that together. That is coming soon. So um, we thank you so very much for dropping this knowledge. Is there one last thought you want to leave with everyone?
I think I just said it, I always tell people, uh, let music be the motivation, you know,
Mm,
whatever. Don't be motivated by anything else. And it's a lot of stuff out here that one of the things I see now is that people are just so caught up in things that don't mean anything. Likes, subscribers, followers, and I know some people are making money off of Instagram. That's quick money. It's not long lasting money. And you may make some good money off of it. And if you make it, be smart with it because know that it's not going to last long. You know what I'm saying? But let the motivation be music. You know what I'm saying? Let the
yeah,
motivation, don't be
yeah.
motivated by any of that other stuff. So.
I love it. Okay, thank you. There you have it. Calvin Rogers.